My name is Thilo, and well, I'm here to talk about my personal story with JavaScript. This is also a personal story with the people that I'm involved with in the JavaScript community. So actually, that I'm standing here today, I never thought that will happen. You know, these days when you feel like you can run through walls and you do crazy shit and don't care about it. Yeah, I handed in this proposal with lots of typos and never thought I will be here today. And yeah, the unexpected happened, so I'm here today and I'm very excited, and I hope to give you a nice storytelling talk. So one thing, there will be bad JavaScript ahead. I mean, really bad JavaScript. So if you can't stand it, you better go now. So let's start with my story in 1999. To give you a perspective what 1999 was like. You know your smartphones, right? Now imagine no color, no multi-tune ringtones, no connectivity besides GSM, monochrome display, and like this and this. This is 1999. This was also when Napster was founded. So, well, it's really a long time ago. So, this is me in 1999. And the beard there, it's called a goatee. And this goatee put me right into the questionable end of the trustworthiness of beard scale. And I did questionable things with JavaScript. This is my JavaScript from 1999. When you look at it, I maybe make it a little bit more smaller. Better. You can probably tell what it does. This is how I apply it. And this is, oh, great. Okay, this page doesn't scale. But basically, this is what it does. You go over an element. I hacked it up with my pirated copy of 3D Max. And when you click it, you go through the door. Amazing, right? This is what I used JavaScript for in 1999. And where is my presentation? It's gone. So let's start again. Okay, the technology is not kind with me today. So let's move forward to 2003. So 2003 was the year then Matrix Revolution was released. The third part of a probably very cool first part, but it goes down from there, right? Or anybody thought that that was better than the first part? No, right. Exactly. And there was, well, 2003, and when I saw the first part, I couldn't wait for the other parts. Well, this is me in 2003. I get rid of the beard, so I stopped doing questionable things with JavaScript, well, mostly because I moved on to work with C# and ASP.NET, besides studying computer science. So that means also I haven't much to do with JavaScript on the usual stateless web application stuff because .NET took care of it, ASP.NET, with a few states. So I had a nice IDE with lots of distracting details. And, well, this is the view state. So it basically just encoded every state on a web application in a variable and sent it with every post that is manipulated on the server and then sent back. Well, I did some JavaScript as well. This is JavaScript from 2003. What it does is ordering a list. So this function, I just showed you a part of it, was 64 lines long, had 4 for loops in it, and 6 if statements. So you can imagine, quite complex. So this is where I needed it to select the entries I selected from one side and move it to the other side of the list. That's all it does. but that's how I did it in 2003. And actually, this is my first serious web application. It was used to search for multi-resistant pathogens in hospitals. So it was quite serious stuff, and it was really fun. Also, yeah, I had to work with .NET. But well, let's move on to 2006. In 2006, I grew me a full beard and long hair. So the thing with full beard is, it puts you on the very trustworthy end of the scale. And yes, obviously it helps, because this charming guy in the middle is Alex. He asked me back then if I want to run a company with him. And I said, well, why not? I have nothing else to do. I just finished studying. So we found a company called Upstream. And through Upstream and Alex, I came to Rails and Ruby. So Ruby is what I do for a living, but you won't see much Ruby today. And I also moved from the IDE to an editor. So much less clutter, much more basic. And well, with Ruby and Rails, there was prototype.js. And at first I thought, wow, cool, all these nice objects, and I know how to do that. And the cool thing was, also prototype came with some licensed little helpers so that you actually don't have to program any JavaScript. Because you just have to call a Ruby method, and it builds the JavaScript for you. Of course, right into your markup. I mean, this is still readable, but if you want to do something more complex, and you want to use Ruby to build something with prototype, it ended up like this. So this is a mixture of Ruby method calls and JavaScript in between. And it basically builds an in-place selectable date selector. Well, when I looked at the code later and I had to update it, it was a hell. But sometimes later, I also came to jQuery, and jQuery was like, oh, cool, because it was so easy to access the DOM, right? You have this nice selector syntax, CSS selectors, you know them a little bit, you learn more of it. So it also improved my CSS skills. Yeah, okay, there are not much skills, but anyway. And you could chain it and 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 chain it. And up with really messy code if you just go with it and have no idea what to do. That's me, 2006, 2007, 2008, around this time. So 2009, that was 10 years basically ignoring JavaScript. I used it, I had it with me all the time, but actually I never really used it in a serious way. But that changed then. That's the end. Thanks to Sammy.js, Aaron, thank you for that, and Mustache, I could use something I'm familiar with from Rails. Basically, I have routes, I have a model, I have a template. That was something familiar that I used model view controller. Okay, I've done it 1,000 times in Rails. So I built my first little serious use Sammy application. But there's more that happens in 2009. Basically, this guy, Jan, which I have the pleasure to know for a very long time because he was one of the first co-workers in the co-working space, brought JSConf to Europe with JSConfEU, which in 2009 caused a lot of commotion because Ryan introduced Node.js. That was first server-side, or it wasn't the first, but like the widely recognized server-side JS. And the funny thing is, Ryan wrote Node.js also because he was frustrated working on the app web server for Ruby, because he couldn't get so much performance out of it, because Ruby was always blocking on something. So you see there's a connection everywhere. So let's move on, 2010. So that was the last year. So in 2010 there was the first, this guy, Robin, organized the first JavaScript user group in Berlin. And right from the start, we became the biggest user group. We host a lot of user groups in our space, and they're the guys that constantly go over capacity, right from the beginning. And there I heard Felix talking about Node.js in more detail. So that was my first real contact with Node.js, because I didn't attend the first JSConf. And I was really impressed what they done there, and with all the helper methods to easily work with file system and all this I/O stuff. Throughout the year, there are more JavaScript events that influenced me in a way and impressed me. There was the JS1K contest. Okay, let's try again to switch the tabs. They had lasers there, and I was really impressed with it. Lasers for everybody, accessible through the web. And somebody actually wrote a jump and run in 1024 bytes. Actually 23, you see it out there in the corner. That was Martin, who yesterday talked about DOM optimization. And he actually handcrafted his code. So he doesn't use the Closure compiler to minimize his code. He does it all by hand, and he beats the compiler. It's like, that was, wow. For me, it was really impressive. And yeah, a very creative use. So I don't know why these windows always disappear. Are they somewhere down here? No, they just disappear. This is not very helpful. So let's jump forward. Yes. This is how his code looked like minimized. This is the jump and run. So, and I did my first serious, mostly JavaScript project in them. And I did it with Robin, and oh, I have to switch tabs again. So we will use loose again. What it does is, but we can scale this. And reload it. Oh no, shit. Okay, let's skip this. So, but this works. Oh, okay, nice. So it was a vector-based font editor where you can make nice fonts directly in the browser. You had a selection of fonts, and you can style them, and they were automatically aligned. And for this, I used Raphael, which back then was already a great library because it was so easy to use. And I'm very happy now that there's an update, what we probably will incorporate in this project. So this is one part of the code there. And you see we have a namespace. We have something like a real object there. So things start to make sense, and I kind of understand how to structure my code to do something. During this project, I also bought a book that helped me very much with JavaScript patterns. It was like 220 pages, and I'm like, for me, I usually only buy books that are around 200 pages, because when they're more, they usually have too much around it. And I want to have compact. And it helped me really to understand a lot of things that right now probably seem trivial for you. Like, if you call new, it's basically nothing else than assigning a new object to this. For me, it was like, okay. Then I know how to build functions where I don't have to call new all the time, or it doesn't matter if I call new. And yeah, things like self-calling functions that, if you really think about it, are like obvious. And of course, the whole scope and context thing, which I haven't grasped entirely, but mostly. So, another JS conference. And this time I attended. And I was impressed because there are so many different kind of people and talks, from game engine over something with HTML5 and forms and NoSQL solutions. And, well, this crazy guy, I call him the JavaScript maniac, showed Fab.js. And this was a really creative use of the syntax of JavaScript and using streams. Some of you might still remember. I still haven't gotten my head around it. I looked into the code, I understand the details, but I haven't clicked yet. So this is my challenge to understand this, really. Like, really, I see. This is how it works altogether. I mean, people told me what it does, and I understand it, but I don't see it in the code yet. And of course, it was extremely funny with hanging out with these people. But sorry, no photos if you missed that. We have another chance this year. So, this year, we're coming to an end. This was a really exciting year. First, there was another Berlin JS meetup that was very impressive. And the funny thing for me is I don't have to move to the meetups because they're always taking place in my place, in my office, not in my place. Well, and there Jed showed 140 bytes, the talk that was just downstairs. And this was another great example of creative use of the language and like show me all the edges and possibilities that are in there that are not that obvious and are like documented. So I'm happy to do that because it shows another side of the language that otherwise would be hidden if it wouldn't be for this project. Oh, and I also could spend some money on another conference. This was in May, the European Ruby conference that I helped organizing. And the great experience there was that Yukihiro Matsumoto, this is the guy smiling with the glasses, is the inventor of Ruby. And he was talking with Felix and Jose Valim, core committer of Rails, and one of the organizers, and they were just talking about tech stuff, and there was no animosity, and there was so much exchange, and I really feel like, wow, we're a big community, and it actually doesn't matter if you do JavaScript or PHP or Ruby. Everybody just cared about having fun and doing something creative. So that was a really nice conference for me, and followed by another one just a week later. You see, it's the NodeCamp.eu in Cologne, where I first time saw Ryan Dahl actually presenting, and he wrote a web server with C and showed how he used libuv for that. And what impressed me there was how he does that. He did live coding, and when I looked at him, he was like smiling and gleaming eyes, and for me it appears like he was a child and he's just playing with the possibilities. So there was no, it was just ease. There was nothing in between. It was just like playing with the possibilities and does it in this raw level of C. Well, and I gave CoffeeStrip a spin at the same time. And when I looked at it, I thought, wow, this looks very much like Ruby. So there was like another closing gap. Ruby, JavaScript, the lines blur more and more. And fast forward to 3 days ago, Reject.js. And there, Felix said something that sums up, or should sum up, our notion of what we actually do. And he said, well, basically JavaScript is just duct tape for the web. Node is duct tape for parallelism or non-blocking, not parallelism. So now I'm here speaking in front of you at JSConf, and EM Scripten is running Ruby Ruby is running JavaScript to V8, and we are all having fun. Everybody does what he likes, is creative. So for me, it's all like double rainbows and unicorns. Thank you very much.